Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Shall we begin the session? Yeah, today's topic is performance or what are the various performances. So what are the various tasks that is used in the project management staircase, or what are the various materials that is used in the project management staircase. So let's talk about what are the various poor performances or what are the various project performance staircases that is used with the ascending top project performance staircase. That starts with the project evaluation, that starts with the practices adopted, that starts with the outcome evaluation. So let's talk about what are the various project performance staircase that is used. That involves outcome evaluation, that involves the process of the implementation evaluation. So first is SEE changes, then practices adopted, CASAL gain, participant reactions, participant involvement, activities conducted, and the resources used. So these are the various tools that is used with the TOS project performance staircase. And these process implementation evaluation that is used with the startup, with the documentation that is used in the assembling of the data, that is used in the collection of the data that is available over here, and at the startup documenting the material cost and the staffing cost. Also help the project managers, whosoever the project managers that is available, so they are adopting the material at the starting point at the staff time that is used over here, and also the project coordinator that explain the scope of the programming efforts in terms of the resources expended. So whatever the terms, what are the resources that is used with the resource expansion, and monitoring whether the targeting activities are implemented as planned and the participation levels are adequate. That also provides the evidence of the program implementation. And the education coordinator also assess whether the intended target audience is being reached or whether they are satisfied with the project as it was implemented. So whether they are satisfied with the project, whether it is being reached, that is, it is available to the customers or not. And the next is the outcome evaluation. So one is the process or the implementation evaluation. So we are implementing the evaluation techniques, so whether they are executing the things incorrect or not. Then after the project is delivered, short-term outcomes, whatever the short-term outcomes, that also focus on knowledge, retain, attitude change, skills required, whatever the skills required that is used over here. Then the aspiration change, intermediate outcomes at the gain level, at the practice level, that also focus on the extent to which the practices are implemented. And typically when we talk about these outcomes are measured a few months after the project. Intermediate outcomes leads to the longer term social, economic, and environmental changes. That is the impact. So we have finished with the step number 5, that is what are the various project outcomes and the impact that is used. The next one is clarify the time frame in which the activities are expected to occur. That means whatever the various outcomes, whatever the time frame, whatever the outcomes, whatever the activities that is expected to occur. So the relationship between the overall project design, implementation, and the project evaluation cannot be overestimated. Project evaluation is integral to the project design, and the evaluation timeline must be integrated into the project implementation. So whatever the evaluation timeline, whatever the evaluation time that is generated, that must be integrated into the process, that must be integrated into the staff process through which we are going to implement the data, through which we are going to implement what is integrated into the project development, implementation timeline, and the vice versa. Otherwise, when we talk about the important opportunities such as the ability to collect the baseline data or assess the critical impact, that cannot be easily missed or lost forever. So whatever the data that is missed forever, and the planning and implementing and evaluation can take several months. So when we plan out, when we implement of the evaluation, that can also take the several months, and the sufficient care must be given to the development of the evaluation timeline. So we are giving the, or we are going to give the sufficient care to the development of the evaluation timeline to ensure the effectiveness. This is step number 6, that is clarify the time frame in which the activities and impact are expected to occur. The next one is sample evaluation timeline for the development and analysis of the survey. So month number 1 provides the firm evaluation team, set the expectations, conduct the background research. Then month number 2, determine the survey methods, determine the sampling methods, and develop the draft survey. Then month number 3, that pilot, test, survey, and revise, then months 4 to 5, that is administer, survey, that is a mail, phone, in person, then code and enter the data, analyze the data, then write the evaluation report and sends result to the stakeholder. Whatever the result that is provided to the stakeholder, so they are going to do within the time to time, month to month. That means we are, or the persons are targeting that, they are targeting the targets with the month wise, in which month what we are going to cover, in next month what we are going to cover. That is a sample evaluation timeline for the development and the analysis of a survey. So this is month 1, month 2, month 3, pilot, test, survey, and the revise, then the administer survey. So these are the various steps that is used with the clarification of the time frame in which the activities and the impacts are expected to occur. That is a relationship between the overall project design. That is integral to the project design that is used with the evaluation timeline. And when we talk about the opportunity, that is also covered with the ability to collect the baseline data across or assess the critical impact, whatever the impact that is used with the analysis that is used with the missed or the lost forever. So these are the various sample timeline methods that is used for the development of an analysis for the survey. The next one is perform a literature search. So we have done with the timeline, we are done with the budget. Next one is we are performing a literature search. So evaluation, like overall project planning, rarely takes place in a vacuum. So they are not taking out the data, they are not taking out the overall project planning. So as mentioned previously, projects are developed based on the explicit or the implicit theories of how the world works. And when we design the things, when we design the material, there are multiple processes, there are multiple evaluation criteria that is useful or that is helpful to identify the related research or literature and use this literature as a test stone. So they are using the literature as a test stone, and likewise the research into the evaluation process, practices, and standards is also very useful. That is particularly true if the evaluation is correct. If the evaluation is okay, that does not include an outside evaluation expert or someone with a significant evaluation expertise. And finally, when we use the existing sources of the information, that is the previous evaluation, census data, reports, budget, that should be tapped. That should be tapped in the sense that should be evaluated. Now, let's see what are the various some useful sources of the information and examples of the project evaluation. That includes NOAA Coastal Service Center, that is the NOAA Center Services. Then the National Marine Sanctuaries, that is used with the education project evaluations. Then Online Education Resource Library, OERL, that have a URL different, that have a different URL we can say. Then the University of the Michigan, my environmental conditions, my data, my resource assistant, that is a Mira. Then University of the Wisconsin. So what is University of the Wisconsin? Then the Web Center for the Social Research Methods. So this is the step number 7 that is used with the resource assistant, that is used with the evaluation methods. Then step number 8 is select data collection methods and develop the questions based on the evaluation goals and the objectives. What are the various goals? What are the various objectives of the evaluation? How we consider the evaluation? How we judge the evaluation? What are the various criteria techniques that is used to develop the question based on the evaluation goals and the objectives? So by this point in the process, the evaluation team has determined why an evaluation is being conducted. What is the use of the evaluation? Who will conduct it? And what will be the evaluation technique? Who will be evaluated? And when the evaluation will take place? So these are the various questions that must be discussed, that must be begin to define the types of the evaluation, that is the process outcome that is conducted, as well as the data collection methods are used, various instruments, whatever the data collection methods, that may include the surveys, that may include the interviews, that may include the case studies, focus group, whatever the technique that will be the most appropriate for the connecting of the data, for the outsourcing of the data, that is the data collection instruments. So these are the 8 steps that is used in the planning process. Next step is step number 9 that comes under the data collection. So step number 9 is determine the audience sample. So expect or except in rare cases when a project is very simple and affects only a few participants, evaluation will be limited to a subset of the total anticipated audience. And the preferred method, whatever the preferred method that is used for selecting a subset is random sampling. So we are selecting a random sampling, that is a procedure that reduces sample bias by selecting a sample that accurately follow what is going to cover for what we are going to cover by using the last sample as possible in the terms of the money and the in terms of money and the data, whatever the data that is used in the by evaluating the everybody in the population. And when we determine the audience sample, some basic calculations will need to discuss or will need to answer. That is used with the basic questions. For example, how many audience do you wish to sample? So that is a project might identify the teacher, parents and the students to its audience, and each audience would sample independently. Then how many questions or how many individuals do you have to assess? Then how you best or how can you best reach the audience to collect the data? So these are the various questions that is answered. So how many audiences do you wish to sample? How many individuals do you have to assess? How can you best reach the audience to collect the data? All these questions are important in devising an appropriate evaluation technique. So the next step is step number 7, that is design and pilot the data instrument or data collection instrument, whatever the data collection instrument that is available over here, that is used over here. So just as the initial design of the project required careful design and the pilot testing of the instrumental material, whatever the material that is used, so that is used to see how they work, how they get, what are the various data collection instrument methods and the focuses, that is how we can gather the requirement or what is the method to gather the requirements. So what are the various instrumental methods, what are the various ways by which we can need to craft, we need to develop, we need to pilot the test. And the evaluator will need to consider a series of the questions, what are the various questions that must be prepared in order to design the data collection instrument, such as how important is statistical precision. So how important is statistical precision, how we are developing the information, or how important is in-depth information about one or more aspect of the project. How will the data collection be standardized? Is contact information on the target audience is available? What method of data collection would the audience be most respective to, and how many questions be asked? So these are the various questions, these are the various designing procedure that is followed up to the for the data collection instrument, how we follow, what we follow, and why we follow. So how the data will be standardized? So a target audience is available or not? What kind of data collection would the audience be receptive to? How many questions that can be asked? So there are many examples of instrument formats and the styles, and the project evaluator should make very efforts or makes every effort to design an instrument that is appealing to the eye, simple to use, and contains complete and explicit instructions and collect the desired data. And that is used for the additional information that is used with the data gathering that is given in the appendix. And once the instruments have been designed, pilot tested and revised, and the instruments is ready to use to gather the data on the project implementation and the outcome. What are the project implementation methods? Whatever the outcome that is available with the project implementation and the outcomes. So this is step number 6, design and pilot the data collection instruments. The next is step number 11, gather and record the data, whatever the data that is gathered, whatever the material that is gathered, how to gather that requirement, how to design that requirement. So again, just as the design of a project requires the consideration of the various logistics as we use with the staff schedules, availability of the procedure, facilities, data collection process for the evaluation must be thoroughly scoped. So we must thoroughly scope what is the evaluation methods, how the data will be evaluated. That is thoroughly means fully scoped. And the evaluation team will need to determine how data will be recorded and collected and recorded, and by whom. And the system of the coding and the recording the data must be developed to ensure easy and accurate data analysis. What is the easiest ways to define the database? What is the main way to define the database? That depends on the expertise of those that is responsible for data collection. What are the various methods for the data collection? That is not necessary to train the interviewers, focus groups, facilitator, and or observers. And additionally, we are also going to give the evaluator that need to or that will be able to design a system that ensures anonymity. Anonymity in the sense that ensures the smoothly or the similar ways that confirms all aspects of the ethical standards. What are the various ways by which we can use ethical standards? Next phase is, so we have done with the data collection, we have done with the planning. Next phase is the data analysis and the reporting. Data collection is over, planning is over. Next part is data analysis and the reporting. That is step number 12. So perform the data analysis that includes the quantitative and the qualitative data. That is often the topic of the advanced research and the evaluation, and it's always a good idea to include a planning team member with survey and the statistical analysis, or the qualitative data that include the expertise on the evaluation team. That is what is the topic of the advanced research and the evaluation, how the quantitative and the qualitative data will be increased, and it's always a good idea to include a planning team members with a survey and the statistical information analysis, and that is used with the qualitative data analysis also. Yeah, there are two parts of data that is available. One is a quantitative, one is a qualitative. Quantitative means the quantity will matters a lot. Qualitative means we focus on the quality, how the data will looks, what is the data that is available in the evaluation of the qualitative data. And when that is not possible, there are few basics that can help, that can use in the statistical information, that can make a sense of the data. So have a plan in place for how to analyze, synthesize, store, and manage the data before starting the data collection. Then develop a plan to guarantee the unbiased analysis and the reporting of the data. How we can judge what is the unbiasedness of the resources, how we can judge the unbiasedness of the data. Then always start analyzing the collected data with the review of the evaluation goals and objectives. So whatever the goals, whatever the evaluation objective that is carried out with the evaluation goals and the objectives. And why was the evaluation undertaken? What question did the team want answer? So what question that the team is answered over here, that is performing the data analysis. Then make copies of all the data, store some master copy of the original data in the safe place. So makes a copy of each and every data, makes a master copy of the original data that is carried out. And for the qualitative data, anticipate responses, that is the pilot test will help this data, and have a plan for categorizing and coding the data. How we can categorize, how we can code the data with the qualitative data. So next part is data analysis and the reporting. In this, we have studied about the step number 12, that is how to perform, or to perform the data analysis. We are using the analyzing quantitative and the qualitative data. That is often the topic of the advanced research and the evaluation methods. And that is always a good idea to include our planning team members with a survey, with a statistical analysis, with a qualitative data analysis, with expertise on the evaluation team. And whenever it is possible, whenever it is not possible, so these are the few basic guidelines that is helps in making the sense of the data, how we can judge whether the data is available in a sensing or not. So have a plan in place for how to analyze and synthesize, store and manage the data. Then develop a plan to guarantee an unbiased analysis and the reporting of the data. Always start analyzing the collected data with a review of the evaluation, how we can review them. Then makes a duplicate copy or makes the copies of all the data. Store a master copy of the original data in the safe space. And for the qualitative data, when we use, then anticipate responses, that is the pilot test, and have a plan for categorizing and coding the data. The next step is step number 13, manage the data. How we can manage the data, how we can analyze the data. So after data are collected and even after before the data have been analyzed, so a plan must be put in place to continue the effective and ethical management of the data. How we can put how we can be used to place the continue or to make the continue the effective and ethical management of the data. And in most of the cases, data remains viable for some period of time. So data remains viable, viable in the sense variable for most period of the time or some period of the time. And after reading the evaluation report, decision maker and other stakeholders and other evaluators may also generate the question that cannot be answered or that can be answered by the revisiting the data. That is, when we revisit the data, that is used with the revisiting of the data, that is used with the question answer that is prepared, that is used with the evaluation criteria. Then consequently, it is important to develop a plan for the continued access to the corrupted data, how we can plan out with the corrupted data, how we can plan with the continued improvement. And if the data can be retained or if the data are to be retained for some period of time, the project team must also make certain uh, confidentiality, anonymity of the respondent that is maintained. And finally, when you talk about the intellectual property right, that includes the questions of who owns the data that is needs to be defined. That is, who owns the data, why they are on the data, why they are developing the data. Then last step is step number 14, that is synthesize the information and create a report. How we can synthesize the information, how we can create the report for the reported data. So after the data have been collected and analyzed, an evaluation report must be generated. So after we have done everything, there is an evaluation report that must be written out, that must be generated. And obviously knowing when the evaluation report and its recommendation will be needed impact the overall timeline as well as the decision that is related to the evaluation design, whatever the evaluation design data, whatever the evaluation design methods, whatever the data collection strategies that is followed up. And although that nature of the evaluation report, that is a length, style of writing, that is determined by the intended audience or the by the we can say the selected audience, by the interested audience. They are the standard component to any evaluation methods, whatever the evaluation method that is used. For example, when you talk about the report, that must include a description of the evaluation method used. Method in the sense, what are the various evaluation method that is described in the evaluation criteria. How was the sample drawn? How was the data collected and analyzed? In addition, the report also includes a discussion how to discuss the or how what are the various report that is collected over here, what are the various instruments or the tool that is used that is available, and the readers of the report must feel confident that the results of the evaluation are credible and the recommendation sounds. So that the results are credible, we can rely on